going to start talking. And, I actually, my first question was going to go to the band, but I do actually want to ask Fernando, how did you get involved with this project?
Good question. Well, I don't even know where to start, but thanks to Nina Soriano from Anonymous, we were talking about different projects and our love for music, and then the opportunity came. She asked me if I liked Depeche Mode. I think you can tell the answer. And they were playing in Mexico City, and they wanted to film the concert, and from there we started just discussing and putting together ideas.
And I imagine this was, just an incredibly complicated production to put together. I mean, you've got 3 days to shoot the concert and to mic the concert. I mean, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, of course.
Let's finish that question later. The first question I wanted to ask was actually about the song we just heard at the end of the end credits there. I got to see this film a little early. When I first heard that song, I was like Shazamming it, I was looking up the lyrics, I was like, what is this song? And then I realized, oh, this is an unreleased song, right? Tell us a little bit about it.
So, I think we mentioned a long time ago that there were 4 extra tracks that we recorded during the making of Memento Mori. And ever since, people have been asking me all the time, when are they coming out? Where are they? When? When? Well, that's one of them. and you can keep asking me about the other 3, because I have no clue.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes!
I actually, when we were watching various edits of the movie, but that was put on quite late in the credits, and when I first saw the credits, I was like, I know this song, but it took me a minute, and I was like, oh yeah, we did that. Yeah.
It's a beautiful song. We were talking a little bit with Fernando earlier about how this project came about, but tell me from your perspective sort of how you decided to actually make a movie of this concept, of these concepts.
Well, it's something we reluctantly do, to be honest, from our point of view, like to, we always historically have recorded the shows at a certain point of the tour somewhere, and this opportunity came up to do this in Mexico City, and I mean, really, this is Fernando's, concept and idea and everything behind it. And in a way, even though there's a lot of our songs in there, and not all of the set, if you would be bored out of your mind, it was, 2 hours something, 2 hours and 15 minutes, the film would be too long. I would walk out anyway. But so there was a lot of stuff taken out, but he kind of, it's a constant, it's almost like the songs, lyrically, everything performance-wise, they are a sort of complement to the concept.
How does it feel watching this? Because this is, you're watching yourselves obviously, but also this is another artist's interpretation of your work to a certain extent. Also, other artists, because there are other artists involved in the film. What did it feel like watching?
I loved it the first time I saw it, really. I learned a lot. I really liked the poems in it, and I had no clue who those poets were, and I had to get Jonathan, our manager, to reach out to Fernando to inform me on all this. So, it was a journey, really, very educational.
Fernando, tell us about how you assembled these ideas, these people, these poets.
Yeah, I think like in every project you find it as you go, right? And more so with a documentary. So we knew the elements, you know, we knew that we didn't want to work with interviews, or we didn't want to feature fans as it had been done before, you know. Also, like, I was listening to the songs, and I put together, you know, like, a document with the inspiration taken from the music, and I mean, there's so many things, but like, the most important thing was like, it's a tour of Memento Mori, you know, and Memento Mori meaning remember you must die, and thinking, well, life as we know it, it's something limited. So I was inspired by limitations, right? Like by but that's why we're using these old formats given to kind of random people in the audience, or my friends' kids, you know, or different ways of playing with it, and yeah, like working around those limitations of and trying to find, you know, metaphors. Also, like this demystifying the idea of like Mexico and Day of the Dead, you know, the kind of the cliches, but wanting to actually really go a little deeper, or open the discussion about like why are those connections normally made, you know. And so it was a very, very long process, and I have to say, we were finding it on the way, and one of the most enjoyable things was like the editing process of the songs, right? Each song we decided to have some sort of like style or personality to it, you know, and it was really hard to decide which ones to leave behind, so we were like communicating and navigating that, and yeah, we had a lot of fun, you know, like reaching the limits of the formats, like the editing, and kind of playing around like the inexactitude, you know, like because of, I don't know, we feel like we live in the days where everything needs to be more calculated and exact, and life itself is not like that. So I wanted to play with those concepts and represent like just the energy of the music.
We were talking. We were talking earlier about the challenge of this film. I mean, the shooting the concert. You were talking about, you know, recording the sounds of the concert. I mean, you mic'd the crowd. Tell me a little bit about how that worked.
Yeah, like there were 3 shows, and each one was different a little bit. And I mean, we had like 3 chances, and we were learning as we went. So, for example, with the cameras, you know, like the cameras that are used for the show, we didn't want to interfere with that because they are used for the CCTV, right? So we had to play around with ways of how to use it, you know, and that's why we kind of record from televisions and all that. And the same with we really wanted all of the audience, because they were like singing all throughout, but also in the edit we were like finding that we wanted to be really intimate and on stage with them, you know, and earn that, you know, like collective experience, and open up in the second to last song, you know. But of course, there's so many complications, because like the moment you want to like listen to the crowd singing, in the microphone set for the crowd, you can listen to the music coming in there, so that affects the mix of the music. So it's a complicated balance. So yeah, it's like a little bit of a complex process.
But I think it worked really well, because we feel that crowd throughout the film. I mean, it really does feel like we're at a con. And thank you to some of you folks. Like, obviously,
I think it was most of the people in here.
But we really get this sense, you know, even though most of the film most of the concert stuff is you guys performing, it really does feel like such a collective experience. The crowd, the audience, they're part of the experiences, they're part of our experience.
It's very hard I think it's really hard to capture. I mean, I think Martin and I were really pleased with what Fernando did here in the end with it, because from our perspective, when we're on stage, one of the things about a Depeche Mode concert is it's a communal experience, and I think it's really difficult to capture that. There's only very few kind of like films that I've seen, and I've seen a lot of films. I'm a fan of watching films of music and bands and stuff like that, but there's only very few, I think, that really managed to capture that. Well, certainly from our perspective, how that translates, and it is a fine line. Watching ourselves, of course, you know, is kind of painful, to be honest. But it's I can't really explain what happens when you actually are performing. It is a strange kind of spiritual experience, to be honest, that happens. It's because we're together. It's because we're communicating somehow through music. You know, it's an incredible thing.
Has that experience changed for you over the years? Has your relationship to the crowd changed? I mean, you've been performing for so long.
It's got bigger. There used to be 20 people, you know, like if we were lucky, and maybe a dog or two or something like that in a pub. Yeah, I mean, just the sheer size of the stadium there was overwhelming, actually. There's a couple of shots which Fernando very cleverly put in, almost at the end of where you kind of get the scale of the amount of people that were in there. And I you know, at that moment, I actually got the kind of hairs on my arms stood up, and I was like, wow, because I know what that feels like.
Yeah, it looks like all of Mexico came out to see you guys. I mean, the crowd is so huge.
No, I was just going to say that I think that there were some like lucky things as well, because you know we played in Mexico City after a month off, so we all came back a little bit fresher. We played in Mexico City right around the Day of the Dead. I don't think I don't think somebody thought about that a lot. Did you, Jonathan? That must have been luck.
So to go back to your relationship with the crowd, I mean, Dave, your performance style is so energetic, so flamboyant. Has it always been like that? I mean, have you opened up over the years? Woo!
I think that I try to just become the song and become the performance, and I've learned what's happened over the years, and it's quite natural. But you know, if I really embody the character that is up there performing the songs, and with the response, of course, from everybody in the audience, it's just easier for me to do it like that. When it's flowing and when it's really good, I really enjoy the performance.